Hello, today we're at Little Farm and tomorrow we're going to be planting our vegetable garden. The first thing we're going to be planting are tomato plants, and we've got a good example of a nice sturdy tomato plant here that we're going to be putting in and hoping to produce some nice fruits like the ones that you can see on the table. And secondly, we're going to plant aubergines, and again we've got a nice aubergine plant here and we'll be hoping to produce fruits like the ones we've got on the table here. We're going to show you some recipes today with vegetables that we grow at the Little Farm. Now the reason we grow our vegetables here is so that we can serve them to our guests and also so that we can share them with our friends in the local community. So today we're going to make a tomato and aubergine bake, and to do that we'll firstly be slicing some aubergines and salting them, and I'll explain a bit more about that later. And then we'll also slice some tomatoes and some onions, chop some garlic, slice some cheese and layer that up in a dish and bake it in the oven. As I said earlier, we're going to need to do some special preparation with an aubergine. We're going to take both ends off and then we are going to slice them into slices all the way along, nice even slices. And we're going to pop them into the dish that I've got to the side here, and we need to salt aubergines. Now this is because the aubergine is quite bitter and also because we need to draw the water out of it. So we'll leave them in some salt for about 5 minutes. Okay, so these are our aubergines, they've been salted and we're going to put those to one side for 5 minutes. Next we're going to move on to the tomatoes. Now, seeds or not seeds, do we keep the seeds, do we skin them? Well, for this recipe we're going to keep everything, and we're just going to slice our tomatoes, nice even slices again, cutting them probably 4 or 5 large tomatoes for this recipe will be quite sufficient. Okay, so we've finished our tomatoes and next we're going to move on to chopping the onions. Now lots of different ways to chop onions, lots of people have discussions about whether to leave the stem end on to stop them crying, whether to leave the root end on to stop them crying. Personally I don't believe any of those things work. Some of my friends hold them under running water. I just get on and peel it. It's much easier, much quicker, and if you're going to cry, you're going to cry. You can try goggles or glasses, none of them work. Make sure you cut the onion down the centre first and always put 2 flat sides on the board so it's safe for chopping. And then we're going to go straight across because we just want semicircular pieces of onion which we will pull apart like this and use to layer up in the dish. Okay, so the onions are chopped and parted into slices, and the last job that I've got to do is chop the garlic. While I'm doing that, Caroline is going to start frying the aubergine slices. We've already washed the salt off. Make sure you remember to do that or you'll spoil the taste of the dish. And she's going to be frying those aubergine slices in some of our locally produced olive oil. Now when you go to the supermarket and look for your olive oil, make sure you choose a nice dark green colour because that indicates a freshness to the olive oil. Okay, so our ingredients are ready, so let's just go back through what we've done. Caroline has cooked the aubergines in olive oil and she fried those for about 2 minutes each side till they're a nice golden brown colour, and they're ready to go into the dish now. We've also got a few extra ingredients that we've added now. We're going to use a tin of chopped tomatoes, we've got half a tin of tomato paste, and the thing that makes this dish most delicious, the cheese, so lots of slices of cheese. So Caroline is now going to mix the garlic in with the tomato paste, so we're ready to use that. And the last 2 ingredients that we're going to use are some paprika and some parsley. Okay, so we're ready to begin the layering process. This is the final part of making this dish. We start with a layer of tomatoes in the bottom of the dish. Tomatoes always remind me of when I was a little girl and we used to go and water the tomato plants with my dad at night. In England we grow tomatoes in a greenhouse, but here in Turkey, of course, we don't need that commodity. At home I used to hate the smell of the tomato plants getting onto my hands, and I used to do anything to avoid touching the spiders in the top of the tomatoes. So next, some chopped tomatoes going in with that layer of fresh tomato, and then we're going to have a layer of aubergine. Caroline, would you like to get the onions ready to go on the top next? So we're going to layer that up all together. Doesn't have to be accurate, okay? It's just a layering process that is going to make this dish nice and simple to prepare, nice and quick and easy to prepare, and nice and nutritious when you've finished it. So onions go on next. I'll just need to wipe my hands, and then we're going to sprinkle in a layer of paprika and some parsley. We have the tomato paste and garlic, just a few dollops of that across the top, and then the cheese. Okay, so next we put in a layer of cheese across the top. Again, doesn't have to cover everything accurately, just forming a basic layer. And then when that's done, nice and straightforward, we're just going to repeat the process. So tomatoes again. Tomatoes are very good for you, lots of vitamin A. So if anyone ever told you that if you didn't eat your carrots you wouldn't see in the dark, you can also tell them that tomatoes have the same effect, because vitamin A is what we need to help us with our night vision, and there's lots of that in the red tomato. Okay, so put the rest of the chopped tomatoes across the top now, spread those across with a spoon. Onion please, Caroline, thank you. And we'll get the last of the aubergines in there. Again, just spread them across the top. Okay, so the rest of the tomato paste with the garlic goes in next. Okay, there we go. Just wipe my hands again. And a little bit more paprika. Another sprinkle of parsley. And then the final layer of cheese that goes on the top. And this will go nice and golden brown in the oven and bubble. Now to cook this dish, we're now going to pop it into a nice hot oven, about 200 degrees centigrade, and it's going to go in there for about 25-30 minutes until this cheese starts to bubble and turns golden brown. And that's your dish. A lovely supper dish. You can cook it for one person, you can cook it for 16 like I'm doing tonight at Little Farm.